This is a Calumet TravelLite 750. It's a 750 watt monoblock. It's sold by a company that was called Calumet, and it's actually made by Bowens. You can see the Calumet logo here, and if you look at the bottom, and there's other places on the strobe, you're gonna see Bowens, name. Well, the design of it and a lot of the features of it look very similar to what you'd find on a Bowens strobe from this time period. The difference is that you don't get as many features, but all of the good features of a Bowens strobe, I think, are in this Calumet strobe, and they're not that expensive. So it's they're really really good values used. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit here, tell you some of the things that I enjoy about it. So we'll start with the way you control the power. It goes from 1/32 all the way up to full. So 750 watts is the most, and about 25, a little under 25 is going to be the least. And it's stepless. So any power output that you want in between those ranges, 25 to 750, you can get to. So sometimes on strobes you can make adjustments in tenths of a stop, or the older ones in a third of a stop, or well, it's never going to just be a full stop. It's either going to be tenths or a third or stepless. So I like the stepless. I like that ability to dial it in. I also like the fact that the controls are on the side, because if I have the strobe above me, and if the strobe front is pointed down, meaning that the back is pointed towards, let's say, the ceiling, then if you have to make adjustments on the back, it's harder to reach or harder to see than if they're on the side. So this is the back. It takes mains power. So you plug it into a wall, or you'd plug it into a like a lithium ion battery pack that would be Sin Wave. Those are easy to find. Vagabond Mini Pulsey Buff is one that you may have heard of, but camping companies, you can find these on Amazon. There's these lithium ion battery packs that people use for camping, and they're not that expensive if you want to add portable power. That's a route to go. And the switches at the top, the one on the left is going to control the modeling light. The modeling light is standard Edison fixture. They're super inexpensive. Nothing fancy about that. The switch in the middle, you have to turn that to I think the up position if you want the optical slave to register. The optical slave is this red rectangle, and it's sensitive. So I've used a speed light at its lowest power, pointed away from this monoblock, and I was able to get it to fire. If it doesn't fire, chances are you may have the switch not turned to the appropriate setting. And then it's a standard sync. It's a phono jack. I think that's 1/4 inch. I'm not really sure what size that is, but it's standard. So those are super easy to find. And if you were to, if you were to get a phono jack, let's say an extension cord or something, you can buy those on Amazon. I use Pocket Wizard. So, Pocket Wizard has a small connector that goes into the Pocket Wizard, and then the phono jack that you need here. If you look for the cord, I would recommend getting something that's mono and not stereo. But yeah, standard. So no issues there. The other thing that's standard is that this is a Bowens mount. It's called the Bowens S Mount. And companies like Godox have adopted this mount. And so what that means is you can get all sorts of speed rings, all sorts of modifiers, all sorts of reflectors and grids at places like Amazon or, B&H or, Adorama. and they're not that expensive. So sometimes with the older strobes, you get into kind of proprietary mounts, and if the strobes are not made anymore, then there's not a lot of options if you are looking beyond buying a modifier used. Um, what else can be said? Calumet. I've owned several things made by Calumet, and I've not been disappointed by any of them. I've owned junior light stands, baby light stands. I've owned a articulating boom arm, which is I made a video on. It's super nice. And so they were a retailer, maybe in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and they sold large format cameras, the kind with the big bellows. They sold these flashes, they sold light stands, but they had other companies manufacture them. So I know their light stands were made by Manfrotto or Bojan. Um, and I know these strobes are made by Bowens. Can't remember who made their large format cameras, but it was another famous company. And so, they they just lacked the features of, in this case, this monoblock from Calumet doesn't have as many features as a monoblock from Bowens, even though Bowens makes it. So on the Bowens, there's going to be more switches, and I find those kind of confusing. There's probably also going to be an option for connecting it to their proprietary Bowens battery system. Um, and that doesn't exist here. You can connect these to lithium-ion battery packs. Just look for one that's got what's called pure SIN. I think it's SINE wave. Um, and you should be good to go. Those are also easy to find. They're, you can get them on Amazon. People use them when they go camping. So you don't need to buy something from a photo store necessarily if you want remote power for one of these strobes. Yeah, I like the mount, and I also like the yoke. The way that the camera, or not the camera, but the flash attaches to the light stand. There's that knob that you're looking at here. There's that bracket that makes like an L, and it is very, very secure. So a medium softbox, medium to me is 3 by 4 feet. And you can position this. You're not going to be limited by the yoke. You're going to be limited by how robust your light stand is. In that case. So, and maybe if you have it sandbagged or a C stand, you'd want to have that sandbagged. You can kind of see the handle here. It's a little hard to make out, but it has the letter B again for Bowens. And there is a kind of a weird way that you can orientate the way that you connect the yoke to the light stand, and this is the standard way that I have it connected here. Let's see. When you look at the baby pin coming out of the light stand and the receiver coming out of the bottom of the yoke, there's a hole in it, and you can actually put the light stand through that hole, which allows you to orient the strobe, let's say pointing straight down. It's just a different way, and you believe it or not, you're not going to realize that you want that orientation until you get into a situation and you find that that orientation helps a lot. So not a lot of strobes or monoblocks have that. They don't have the yoke. If you take a look at continuous lighting, that like LED lighting or the old tungsten lights, hot lights that would have been used in studios for films, that's a very common way to attach the light to the light stand. The yoke might actually be like a U, not just an L. But Bowens is one of I think it's the only one that I've seen that's adopted that to their strobes. And it's super secure, works really well. So yeah, huge fan of these, very inexpensive. They do the job that they're supposed to do. Of course, it's an all manual. And 25 watts, a speed light is 60 watts at full power. So, 25 watts is a low power output from here, and 750 is a pretty high power output. So, a ton of range from one of these inexpensive and well-built strobes.